Hello. Hi, everyone. Oh, look at me. I'm going invisible. I don't know what's going on with the green screen. Doesn't like the microphone. Doesn't like the shirt. What's going on? Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can see and hear me okay. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's get my list up. Kind of drifted off from doing this. Well, there used to be just like recaps of the videos that have come up, which I'm not doing today because we've been out and about places. We've been playing loads of games. There's been loads of new stuff. So I'm going to chat about that. And I'm going to chat a bit about the games of the year so far. I'm not going to do like a big top 10 or something, but I saw something about, oh, this year's been rubbish for games, which seems to be every single year. And then I thought, well, it hasn't felt that it never feels that way to me. And just had a quick scan through my BG stats. Thought it's been pretty fantastic from my perspective. And the bulk of the games come out towards the end of the year anyway. So if that's the first 6 months, so we'll talk about some of them as well. And all the places we've been at that, hopefully the pictures and stuff work. Hey James, how's it going? Sean, Mikhail? Hey Derek, how you doing? Bot's working? Brilliant. Yes, you can support the channel on Patreon if you would like to. I can point to it somehow. And it's how I'm able to do any of that. I'd really appreciate it. Marty is not up here. He is not likely to be up here. He's chilling downstairs. Actually, his food's just gone off. He gets some dry food at 4 o'clock, so he is enjoying that probably right now. So, are all my things going to work now? I bet they're not. So first of all, things at the UK Games Expo, which I'm sure I'm going to miss out a million things that we saw. I've just thought of something that we didn't take photos of, because I'm a bad photo taker as well. I'm okay sat here and chatting about stuff on here, but I tend to just chat with people about the games and have a look at them and stuff, and Rach has to take the pictures and stuff and remember, oh, actually, you could do with pictures of these things to chat about them. So some of the things we saw at the UK Games Expo, which was, it seems like forever ago now, but it was only last month, I think. Will the camera come on? Here we go. It's kind of blurry and shiny. So we saw there for the first time, by the same token, who you've probably seen their stuff come up if you've seen any of me Marvel Champions, maybe not the very first Marvel Champions videos, but the more recent ones, or the Arkham Horror card game. They make these like acrylic tokens and things and fancy, lovely designs for stuff. And one of the new things that they had on display was this Bless and Curse token that would have been amazing in Arkham, what was the last one called? Hemlock Vale. Just finished it. Spent so much time playing and editing that thing. Can't remember the name of it anymore. But yeah, the new Investigator expansion particularly, and the new campaign made more of a big deal about, it's like based on how much is in the Chaos bag, how many Bless and Curse tokens. It's not just that they exist anymore. Like specifically Kahaku, I think, had a special ability based on if there were like more curse than bless, or if there were two of each, you could get rid of both for an extra turn. So you could do with knowing how much was in there, to the point where the game comes with a little cardboard one. But look how fancy like the buy the same token one is. And full disclosure, they gave me this, which I was very excited by, because me and Rach were looking at it before, being like, oh, we need to get that, even though like we've just finished the campaign, unfortunately. But I'm sure there'll be plenty more Arkham in the future. And the way their stuff works, like the DARs like this, I've got another one for Lola Hayes. Like her Investigator, you decide which class she is every turn, I think. They are magnetic, so all of the bits just like pop together, and the spinners like sit in the middle of all of these magnets. It's not going to focus now, is it? The autofocus wasn't made for plastic dials and things. But yeah, you can check them out. They're by the same token, they're called. And well, hopefully we'll be seeing some more of them. We'll be seeing more any time that they come on Arkham Horror and Marvel Champions. And full disclosure, all of them I bought up to now. There's been a lot of purchases on that website, but it's because it's all beautiful. It's so nice. I want all of the, like they do like little boards for Marvel Champions, like a Spider-Man themed one. Like I haven't got all of that stuff, but it looks so cool. Could pretty much spend a year's gaming budget on it. But yes, by the same token of there, then hopefully the pictures will kick in rather than this live video of a thing. So, some of the things that we saw. Cre Mana, speaking of Derek, you should go and check out his playthrough that he's done of this. He's got one of the few like pre-production copies of Cre Mana from Hall of Nothing, which is a dungeon crawling card game, which is like a kind of spiritual sequel, or like it's a prequel story-wise, right? But it uses similar systems to Veilwrath, which I haven't played, but we had a look around. I'm coming late into all of this. I've played Shadows of Kilforth so far, like properly. You can see my playthrough fairly recently. Loved it. So in Cre Mana, you'll take control of a character. Hopefully, like, we will scroll through some of the pictures here. So here you are, like, playing as one of the characters. You've got stats just... And it's cool, like, I hadn't planned for this, but putting me in front of the picture, I can point at stuff. That you've got these stats here that you'll use to do tests, and you can see dice. You're not actually using the dice to perform checks as usual. You can build up kind of excess of these stats, and you can spend pips of the stats when you need them for certain things. And you're doing like all sorts of stuff like prepping your character, equipping them with all sorts of things, going through encounters. You can see some things, you can't see some things that are coming up, and you are going through several stages. There are a load of cards that will refer to like a big storybook. I know I've got pictures of it, because again, this is while I'm chatting and getting all excited about things, Rach is doing the proper work, the due diligence of actually taking photos of the things, so I'm not just talking at you from a blank screen. But you can see all the lovely playmat there, like the locations that you set up the scenario that you're playing, and that's going to determine like keywords that you need, cards that will be in the decks and stuff. And you will have choices as you go through that will like determine chapters that happen later on, like enemies and things in your threat area and the things that you need to overcome them. And you will get like their expansions that add new characters, I think. Like one of them's a bard. There you go. These are the extra characters. All these great things. That's too far. I can't go back. So yeah, it sounded very exciting. As I say, I haven't played Veilwrath yet. Yes, exactly. Cre Mana is like just before the gloom is about to happen. You've got a chance to, like, story-wise, the gloom didn't manage to be prevented, because that's how we've got Gloom of Kilforth and all of that stuff. But Cre Mana is some valiant heroes in a last-ditch effort to stop the guy summoning all of the gloom and stuff, right? Hey Steve, how's it going? So yeah, it sounded very exciting. It's coming out, I think it's going to be delivering in something like September, so hopefully I'll be doing a playthrough sometime around then, because it sounded very cool. And like, I know I haven't got time right now, so I haven't been making inquiries, but I definitely at some point in the future want to do one for Call of Kilforth, because the theme looks so cool and I enjoyed Shadows loads. So you can get the picture up now. Why isn't that working? We'll just chat while the like stuff decides to come up here. Now that's the camera again, where there's nothing. Well, maybe we aren't going to be seeing anything in the pictures. Oh, the downside of... there we go. The downside of turning them off is they're going to reset every time I turn them off, annoyingly. So we're going to have to leave them on when I'm not actually talking about the thing that's up there. That's all Cre Mana. You see, all lovely, exciting things. I've gone past it. No. Professional. Hey, Skip, how's it going? Okay, so leave the pictures up, or put something in front of them, I suppose, because not everything's got a picture. Next one. Yes, we had a quick kind of run-through of Avalon the Riven Veil, which is the new game from Shadowborn, who did Oathsworn originally, that sounds like a very cool, like, area control competitive kind of game, where you can see all of these locations now, but they're actually all in the shroud, the fog of war, the mists of time, so you don't actually know what the kind of requirements for being in charge, the rewards for being in charge. You get little story bits, you upgrade your characters, you can kind of fight and then recruit these gigantic monsters to fight with you. It sounds very, very cool, but at the moment anyway, the solo mode I think is being worked on, and there will be one eventually, like when it goes to crowdfunding and stuff, but at the moment, just as a competitive thing, it will be too fighty for me and Rach, but it looks gorgeous. Then at CGE, we had a look at it. It's a shame actually for the portrait photos because they're all tiny. We've got all this space down here, but I can't do that in OBS. But CGE have got a couple of fantastic looking things coming out this year. I'm so excited. Most excited for Little Alchemists. Even though, like, I know it's going to be like a family game and stuff, and for kids, like, it's teaching kids deduction and stuff. But I absolutely love Alchemist. There's a little bit kind of, I'd love anything kind of logic puzzly and deduction-y. And Alchemist manages to wrap that kind of logic puzzle in a big Euro worker placement kind of game. And there is a little bit, I can't actually quite remember where now because it's been so long, and Rach didn't really enjoy Alchemist because she doesn't like that kind of logic puzzle stuff. But yeah, a little bit of meanness in kind of the, I can't remember, was it in the publishing your theories and disputing them? Either way, so Alchemists, Little Alchemists simplifies that. You're still kind of deducing these formulas. You can see, like, if you're familiar with Alchemists, you see like the components that are being made up here, the ingredients that we're testing, the little much smaller triangle that we are putting our results in to try and work out which components make which potions. And there are people, you know, trying to buy certain potions that you want to sell things to. There goes a little bit more of a close-up of the components and stuff. So here's your, like, you've got a little player screen to hide everything as usual, and this is where you're putting your 2 ingredients to test. And again, like Alchemists, you can use the app to work out, oh, based on these things, what do they make, and add that to your logic tree. We've gone too far. But another thing, like, hopefully we'll be featuring this at some point soon. I think this comes out at Gen Con, Little Alchemists. So it's got all of that stuff, but not only that's kind of the most basic mode of it. It comes with a load of boxes and chapters to add to the game. So it starts out as quite a simple, like, logic deduction game, using the kind of bare bones of the deduction you were doing in Alchemists as a way to, like, introduce kids to, you know, deduction, to logic puzzles. But gradually you can add on more and more, so that when you plug it all in, it's not Alchemist, it's not going to be that heavy, but you add kind of, you can add another layer to the triangle that you're deducing from, so there's like more elements, more possibilities for things, and add more and more bits as you go on, which I think is a really cool idea as well. Really excited about Little Alchemist, but because so excited about the original game. But they've also got a great big Euro coming out called SETI, The Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And in this we have got a great big solar system board, and you can see all, like, the different layers of it. You are putting satellites and telescopes and things down in space. We're trying to get to the outer reaches of space to observe what is out there. We don't quite know what is in here. There's going to be kind of asteroid fields in your way, and as the rounds go on, certain rounds spin different disks. So the way that, you know, the planets and the asteroids are going to line up, you want to try and get your telescopes or whatever into a space that's actually got a clear view of the thing you're trying to look at. And because it's going to cost you more power to see through, like, the asteroid fields and things like that. And you are trying to uncover new planets and things like that. But also there are different, like, types of aliens that can be in each game. I think there's two types of things out there, not necessarily aliens, but that will behave differently, that will have different rewards, that will want you to explore in different ways. And you're trying to, you know, build up your engine so you're more effective at things. That's a look at a couple of the cards in there that will, like, enhance your abilities as you go on. They're like achievements that you can shoot for. There's a bit of a closer look of the board there. It's got like a lovely little kind of plastic, like frosted glass looking, but it's plastic, sun in the middle there that we're all rotating around. That's it for the pictures of SETI. But yeah, we'll know more at Essen, I think. That's when that's going to come out. Yeah, SETI, The Search for a Comfy Sofa, exactly. That's what we're looking for. That's one of the aliens, I think. So yeah, hopefully around Essen we'll know more about that. It would be great if I'm doing a playthrough before, but certainly we'll be doing one after, if one isn't available yet, because I know that some companies like CGE, they are able to print very close to the show, so things aren't generally available very early. Deep Regrets, which, you know, from my kind of pre-expo video, I was so excited about. I have since kind of, like, I have now done work for Deep Regrets. I've made a playthrough. You can see it in action. To the point where, like, when I signpost any kind of opinions and excitement with it, you can see my video from before, though, that nothing was arranged back then. But yes, Deep Regrets is a push-your-luck card game of fishing. This is a selection of the kind of fish that you might find in there. There's like over 100. They're all unique. So we are fishermen using dice. You can see up in the corner there, you've got your basic dice that you roll. And the fish all have difficulties. They've got silhouettes on the back that say how hard the fish might be to catch. So you don't quite know until you flip it over what kind of value of dice you're going to need to discard to pull up that fish. They've got effects when they're revealed. They've got effects when they're caught. But generally, you will be, to catch the bigger, fouler fish, you'll be accruing regrets. And they are great and let you access more and more things, have more dice in your pool, make foul fish worth more money as you descend further into madness. But the person with the most regrets at the end of the game will have to discard their most valuable fish. So there's a bit of a risk to going too crazy as well. You want to take some madness, because look at what we're up against. You're going to take some madness, but not too much. And you can, as I said, you can see that in action in a 2-player playthrough with Little Glass Party. But I am also, next Friday at 6 o'clock English time, BST, I'm going to be doing the solo game, which is more like you're not journaling, surveying. You've got a little log and you are trying to see what's out there. To also, like, you can end up with a list of the fish to help you in the multiplayer game. But yeah, I'm going to be playing that at some point soon as well. Next up, Chronologic. So I had a lovely tour from Rob of Hachette Games, who have got a load of things coming out that I'm very excited about, that hopefully will be getting hold of at some point soon when they come out. Shackleton Base looks like a really good, fairly heavy Euro from the moon as well. Looks fantastic. Loot, which we'll talk about a bit later. There's some pictures of that when we played it later in the month, which is from the designers of Acropolis, right? There's a game. It's called is it Nekima? That you are trying to energize this island for cats by building these power poles that are connected by strings. So you've got different lengths of wood that are connected by string, and you need to kind of play, according to some dice, you need to place them kind of Twister style. You need to place them in certain colored districts. And obviously those poles and the different lengths of them things, the wires are going to intersect. You need to make the wires not touch at all, and rolling a certain thing on the dice is going to make you have to hang a cat from the power cables as well. It's one that, like, I really seem cool. I don't play a lot of dexterity games, partly because I'm rubbish at them, and also because the bird's eye view doesn't really lend itself to, like, building up dexterity games. Like, Manara is fantastic, but filming a playthrough of it from up above, the height doesn't really come across. I need a different setup. But amongst all these other things that hopefully we'll be talking about more in the future, I love Turing Machine. And as I said, I love logic puzzle-y kind of things. And Turing Machine for me is a very solo thing. I don't think any of my friends would be bothered about logic puzzles. I'm not bothered about trying to race them to deduce them. But what about taking some of the system from Turing Machine and applying it to murder mystery? So this is Chronologic. This is the first one, which I think is Paris 1920. There's going to be a few different boxes. So in each box, there are a few different, I think there's 3 different scenarios, something like that. And so it will tell you, I don't really want to spoil like what the story is. I can't spoil the solution because I don't remember. But we had a demo game, which I think is just one of the cases from the box. So someone has been murdered in this, and the only time it could have happened was when these 2 people were alone in a room. So you can see in the middle there, a load of different characters, and you have a load of different rooms, like it's set in a theatre in Paris in the 20s. And you also have 6 time periods. So the first one there, we know where everybody was at time 1. We know who was where in the room with each other. And you can see the connections. There is a big board where you can see the location more clearly as well. but you can see little connections there, little white lines that are the doors that connect each of these rooms up. So each of the times, the characters will always move. They will never stay in the same room, but you can see with the multiple doors, you don't quite know where they would have moved to, and they could just move out somewhere and then move back. So the characters are all going to mill about across these 6 time periods, but in one of these time periods, the person who was murdered was alone with somebody else. And if you can find that, you will determine who the killer was, because that's the only means they had to do it. And the other cases will do different things. Like I think someone steals something in a different case. We were playing with one of the designers as well, which was really exciting. I got some things for Turing Machine. There's a sequel, like I don't think planned to be released. There's a designed one for Turing Machine, which will be amazing. But release it, publisher. But yeah, there's someone stolen something and it gets passed from person to person. You've got to work out who ends up with it. So how do you do this? Well, you can kind of see on the player aid there a little bit. This is a French prototype, by the way. It's obviously going to have an English version. So in the middle of the table, we have got these tiles. In the middle are tiles for the location. And they are kind of like, you know, the cards with all the ticks and crosses in Turing Machine. That's got all the answers on it, basically. But if you just looked at it, it would just be gibberish full of symbols. So on your turn, and this is a competitive game. We're trying to race to see who can work it out first. But you grab one of these tiles in the middle. You're going to pick a location, and you can either ask the game about a character at that location, or you can ask about a specific time and that location. I don't forget any more pictures here. No, that's a different picture. So you'll basically so you'd line up a character and that location. And so there are 2 pieces of information. There's 2 holes on that tile. And it will tell you, you have to tell everybody, okay, the detective went in the ballroom 3 times in total. So if through your deductions, you already know that he's been in there 3 times, you can cross off all of the other times. You know he never went in there again. But it also gives you a bit of information just for you, that at time such and such, at time 3, he was in there. So tell everybody how many times he went in, tell you exactly one of the times that he went in there. And if you ask about a time period and a location, it says you tell everybody how many people were in that room at that time, but only you get to know one of those people specifically. So you are constantly sharing information to everybody, and even just you asking a particular question later on in the game starts to give clues that, oh, are you suspecting that person then? But yeah, it was a really cool system, and taking that kind of base Turing Machine analog computer thing and applying a lot more theme and story to it. I think it's due pretty soon, the first box, and then they're going to be releasing I think there's 2 more planned so far. I'm not quite sure how many cases it's going to have in it, because I think it's going to be, unlike Turing Machine that's kind of infinitely resettable. There's only going to be a certain number of cases. I don't know if there's kind of ways that can expand through an app like Turing Machine, but it's going to have a load of cases in each box, I think. Really excited for that. It worked really well. We had a bit of a wobbly demo where over the course of the thing, this is how it can fall apart. If one person interprets a tile wrong and says the wrong number, it kind of held everything up from that. But despite that, it was a fantastic demo. Here's a thing that was at the UK Games Expo. So Cephala Fair was there, showing off Gloomhaven buttons and bugs and all of the lovely extra stuff they've got for Frosthaven and the game itself. One of the new things that they've got now, remember Jaws of the Lion had you playing on the books and everyone was like, we want that for Gloomhaven and Frosthaven. And they said, we'll get to it eventually. They've done it, they're out. I think they were £70, because it's a huge box of these great big books. And one of the things we were excited about was we wanted to go and find our scenarios. If you don't know, Rach and I designed 2 scenarios for Frosthaven in the kind of guest section towards the back, and so we found our scenario in the books and laid them out. It was exciting seeing them like that, even though it's the same as what's in the scenario books, just in Frosthaven. But it was a cool little thing seeing them out there like that. Then what's the next picture? Oh, that's not for ages. So we are going to have a look at, we'll talk about that soon, but I need to get my browser up because games played just after the expo. Hey, it's working! And you can see some playthroughs of these, actually, so a little bit of it's talking about playthroughs. Windmill Valley, new from Board and Dice and designer Danny Garcia, who did the amazing Barcelona or Arborea last year. So Windmill Valley is like a bit of a shorter, a bit of a lighter game, but not like look at the weight. It's getting towards like a medium Euro there, isn't it? So like lighter than something like Arborea, but don't think it's like a breezy filler or something like that. So it is all about cogs. So on your turn, you will spin these cogs a certain number based on how much you've opened this floodgate. And at the start of the game, it's going to have very basic things on it. But throughout the game, you can see these tiles have been placed on the cogs, and your actions will get strengthened, or you'll get bonuses for performing a certain thing. So you kind of customize how your game's going to go. There's a bit of kind of area control in placing these windmills on the board. It worked fantastically. You can see me do a solo playthrough of it, I believe. Then, so UK Games Expo, I think, oh, as well, we didn't take pictures of this because people were playing and we felt like we were intruding. I'll type it in here. Because Windmill Valley got a logo up. So should this. Snowdonia Grand Tour. And we had a chat. They just had one of the scenarios at the moment. This is going to be a great big kind of standalone expansion for Snowdonia, which has got 1 billion scenarios already. This is changing up how the scenarios work in that it will have a completely different board for the scenario you're playing. So it doesn't limit it to having to fit the new scenario around the old board and fit in those spaces, so they can do radically different things. They are going for like a narrative mode, like a campaign mode. Like it says somewhere on here as well, a completely new substantive game mode that enhances and builds on all the content you already own. Because I thought like, oh, and compatible with all the other versions of Snowdonia and stuff, there is going to be some kind of campaign mode where you can play any scenario of Snowdonia, all the ones you have in the master sets or the Isle of Man or these new Grand Tour ones, and through your experiences in that, you will kind of like progress and make choices in the campaign and stuff, but you will also get kind of souvenirs of the scenarios that you won in. And yeah, loads of work is being put into it to make it compatible with everything, which is huge. And it's got like it's got the base game of Snowdonia, but it's like in the Grand Tour's vision of it. Because another thing about the master set, I'm not sure actually how available and how much it is, because I kind of just got overexcited and was like, yes, I will back that. I love Snowdonia. But it does mean if you're just kind of a player wanting to dip their toe in the water of Snowdonia, you've got to get a master set in terms of in-printness. You've got to get an enormous box full of like 30 scenarios or something like that, when you just used to get the base game of Snowdonia. And this is going to have a base game as well, so you'll be able to kind of play more pure Snowdonia if you just want to kind of test it out as well. It sounds really exciting. Then what? I'm sure there's things that I'm forgetting about the UK Games Expo as well. We had a little look at Cre Mana as well. I'm really excited that I backed. Yeah, there's loads of things that I didn't take pictures of, but it was very exciting. It was very, it was even better than usual this time. I think it was the best one I've been to for quite a while, but just kind of, I had a better time as well. Like, don't go out to very many big things. And at times, I don't do very well in those kind of situations, but this time especially, I think it was a really nice place to be. So then we travelled like pretty much straight away from the expo. We travelled all the way across the country for hours and hours to Gaming Rules HQ, all the way down in Devon, to do some live streaming, which you can watch some of these on the Gaming Rules channel, on Paul Grogan's channel. So we were delayed getting there, but there was loads of traffic and stuff the entire way. We were crawling down the motorway the entire way there. When we finally got there, I think we had a cup of tea and then basically went upstairs and played Ezra and Nehemiah on stream. So I've played a 2-player game of that with Paul, the latest to deliver from Garfield Games. Like it's in the historical series, but it's a great big Euro-y game of like not translating, that's Scholars of the South Tigris, isn't it? But we are like doing readings from the Torah. We are donating to a temple and building that up. Can you see my cursor in this? I'm assuming that you can because I'm moving it about. Yeah, progressing up this track to get extra rewards, like upgrading various bits on your board as well for big bonuses, building up walls and gates. I did a solo playthrough back when it was on Kickstarter, but me and Paul just did a 2-player one as well, which you can watch. And then the reason that we went there, so thanks really go to Tomas and Aperian Games and Pillars of Heracles, which is the whole reason that this could happen, really, because like it's a big thing to get down to Paul's. Like when we go to GridCon, which we have for... How many have we been to? I don't know. When we go down to GridCon, it's a big journey down there. I know people make further journeys from different countries and things like that. But for us, after work on a Friday, it's a great big journey. So we don't tend to be able to make it very much. It's the first time we've been to like Paul's house for years and years. But that happened because I think Tomas reached out to Paul to do a video for Pillars of Heracles. He didn't have time to learn it and stuff. I had already done the how to play, so knew how to play it. So it kind of came about that, why don't I go down there and we do the video together and I teach everybody and then we do a big playthrough of it. So you can see that I've done a how to play video. We did a big 4-player game of it, which was like, it was everybody's first game. So it's kind of like we were slower than usual because of that, because I just taught everybody in the stream. And you know that like I can do... Like I kind of kept myself to myself, build up like as much as I can in a kind of area control. We weren't playing the fighting variant, the skirmish mode that you can include in there, but there are still kind of effects that mess with other players and things. And if you know me, you know I'm not going to do stuff like that. I'm not going to do stuff like that to other people, and I'm going to try my best to put myself in a position where I'm not going to have that done to me either. But yeah, you can see us play a great big 4-player game of Pillars of Heracles. Then we did a couple of other things that you might not have seen yet. So these were streamed on Paul's Patreon, but I think he took the first one down. So first of all, Eldritch Horror. One of my favourite games, which I've only discovered like in the last... I know it's been out like over 10 years. I've only discovered it in the last like 3 years, something like that. Absolutely love it, and kind of rediscovering my love for Orgrimmar 2nd Edition, which was one of the first games I ever had. Well, modern board game wise. But yes, 7.8. What's going on there? It's madness. See the ratings of some things on this website. But yes, the great big globe-trotting, stop the ancient one, encounter-based kind of game. That's what I like about it more than anything, more than kind of the theme and stuff lends itself to that. The story that it tells through just an enormous helping of card and dice randomness. The little bits of story that it tells along the journey as you have these encounters every round is crazy and silly and engaging and fantastic, and I love it. Paul Grogan, that we're talking about, you remember him, right? I mentioned him a minute ago. He's never played Eldritch Horror. He has only played, I think, the card game, Arkham Horror the card game, and really enjoys that, despite, like, he doesn't like roll to resolve stuff, but makes an exception for the chaos bag in the card game because of how, like, immersive and stuff the story is in the card game. For me, anyway, like, as much as I have loved things in the card game, and if you've seen our playthrough of Hemlock Vale, been utterly frustrated by the way it wants you to stop having fun sometimes in order to tell a story. Like, I can see story-wise something great is happening, but functionally, we are still people spending hours and hours of our lives trying to play this game. It has been a huge commitment to get to the end of this campaign. We're like 16 hours in or something, and it's just going terribly. And progressive, that's the kind of the way that fail-forward campaigns go, in that, like, oh, you get to continue the campaign even though you fail. Yeah, but in a much worse position, and now every scenario is just going to be harder and worse now, and it's just going to compound. This isn't about the card game, though. I've had great times. I've had bad times with the card game. I really like it still. Eldritch Horror is in just another league entirely. I think it is so much better than the card game, and despite it being probably functionally and like certainly in a kind of streamlining way, it's a lot worse. I think Arkham Horror 2nd Edition is even better than Eldritch Horror. I think if we do another one again, I'd really like to do another collaborative stream. It's a kind of thing of how to get down there, and like I'm very busy, Paul's even busier, that like to try and get a time when we can do something is difficult as well, never mind like the distance between us. But yeah, if we do another one, maybe I'll make him play Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. But the thing is, you can see Paul's done a vlog for the month as well, and you can see all of his thoughts on playing Eldritch Horror for the first time. But yeah, to my delight, like, because it can go one or two ways, can't it? If you're introducing someone to a game like this, I've introduced it to people that have not had a good time at all. You need to enjoy failure and the story that is being told, rather than the functional game is still enjoyable. And it's only one session as well. If it all goes wrong, hey, we had a funny time. But yeah, you can see from Paul's vlog that he had a fantastic time, apart from a couple of things which, yeah, like I chose a prelude that included Dark Pacts and Promises of Power, which are kind of powerful things. That Dark Pacts, every now and then, you're going to have to roll a die, and if you roll a 1, it's bad, and something terrible is going to happen. We happened to get a Mythos card that was like, you need to resolve all of those things as if you rolled a 1. So, yeah, bad things happen. And we got Promises of Power, which are kind of the opposite. Every now and then you'll be asked to roll a die, and if you roll a 6, something great will happen. And because of the kind of wonkiness and randomness inherent in it, it can be an immensely good thing happening. Much better than the game intended for you. Yeah, he didn't really like them. But this is going to be up at some point in the near future, probably at the moment, looking at all the stuff that I need to do this month, it's probably going to be going up in August. We recorded this playthrough. I am in the middle of editing it now. And so, yeah, you'll be able to see a 3-player playthrough. It was Paul Grogan, Rach, my wife, and me playing some Eldritch Horror. And yeah, it was a roller coaster. It was great. Also, we're still on Gaming Rules HQ, because I talked about Eldritch Horror for 20 minutes. Civolution, the new upcoming game, not even the new game, the upcoming game from Stefan Feld. Stefan Feld makes a big Civilization game. What? He has. It's quite heavy. It's quite fantastic. So Paul has a prototype from Deep Print Games, who, if you click on this, hey Deep Print, I'm available. Have you got another prototype? I'll make a playthrough. So that's what this picture is. We can resume the pictures. Hey, there's Civolution. So this is like, these are your playboards, these great big things down here. You have many actions you can take with 2 dice. So the combination of dice that we'll use, and you have a bit of like mitigation, you can adjust dice up or down. You can get a resource that allows you to use it as a wild die. So based on the combination of 2 numbers that you're using, it will relate to an action. All of these actions are tiles that you can upgrade several times throughout the game. There is a great big board that we're putting people out and building structures in to help feed those people. There are random events that you do get like a lot of notice of. There's a whole load of cards here. We can only see a couple of the decks, but there are a load of different types of cards. We played like the introductory game version, where you will get given a set of cards that kind of go together. So you will place them. You can see kind of, this is between mine and Rachel's boards, I think. So you can see the kind of gap that is made as these player boards go up. You make rows of cards here that will give you benefits when you perform certain actions, and filling these rows up with cards will make them worth a load of points at the end. There is so much going on in this game. There are kind of like, there are guided bits. You can see from the start, certain rounds are going to reward you with certain things in a kind of, Gaia Project way, that you can see from the beginning what is going to get scored through the whole game. So you can kind of plan out a bit how you might want to evolve during the game. Obviously, what other people do is going to probably mess you up entirely. The cards that you manage to find are going to send you in a different way. I will say that I had an absolutely fantastic time with it. It's always on stream, learning a new game is like going to be a bit tricky, like especially a complicated one, but it went very well because, well, you're getting taught it by Paul Grogan, right? It's going to go well, innit? But yeah, I think it's an absolutely fantastic game just for a one play mind. I don't think it felt like anything else that Stefan Feld has ever made, which, like, depending on how you feel about Stefan Feld games, that could be great for you. If you haven't liked any so far, I'd say give Civolution a play, because maybe he'll surprise you. I have loved a lot of Stefan Feld games. I have not loved every one that he's made, like, in the last 5 or so years. He's still done some great ones in that time, but yeah, this is going to be a great one, probably the heaviest one, right? But it was fantastic. So that was us at Gaming Rules. And then closer, like, it was probably only a couple of weeks ago, we went up north to kind of near Harrogate, right? For BeaCon, which is a little convention that we were thankfully invited to. Thanks, Georgina. Which again, like, I don't tend to go to things. What's going on with me this year? I'm flitting about like mad. And so we played a load of, like, there was like a big convention-wide game of monikers and stuff, and there was I don't know what the game's called. Here's a category, put an answer down, and if anyone else says it, you don't get a point. That kind of game. So there was some of that where my board game knowledge came in handy for some of the rounds. It turns out no one else knew the name Last Train to Wensleydale. I don't know how I remembered that. We haven't played... It isn't even that game that we played, it turns out. We played a sequel to that I can't remember. But yeah, some of these things are just lodged in my mind, apparently, when the name Martin Wallace comes up. So some things that we played there, which you can probably see on the channel as well, actually, some of them. Fuse. Partly because it's 7 for Fuse. It's just going to be me getting angry at Board Game Geek users. I mean, Civolution had a rating, right? That's me Googling. Civolution had a rating and it hasn't come out yet. Fuse, you've had 9 years to enjoy Fuse and you give it a 7. Hey, Rodo, top 10. That's cool. It's in my top 10 as well. Put Marty on the cover. Yeah, this is one of my favourite games of all time, not just of 2015. A real-time 10-minute game. Bombs have been planted on a spaceship. You need to use dice to defuse them. So you'll get cards like this that are the bombs that want certain configurations of dice to be placed on there. A pair of colours, a pair of numbers. This is a level 1 easy die. You have a bag full of dice that you, like say a 4-player game which we played, draw 4 dice from the bag each turn, roll them on the table. Each player needs to take 1 die to put on their cards, and it has to be valid. If they can't take a card for whatever reason, you need to roll that die and everyone's going to lose something off their cards. We've got 10 minutes to roll the dice and get rid of all of these bombs, diffuse all of these bombs. And there's some cards in the deck as well that will, some fuse cards that will throw some extra wrinkles in there. More recently, last year, we played the sequel, the standalone expansion, Fuse Countdown, which is fantastic in a kind of more difficult way. Like, we haven't played Fuse for a few years now, and we had, like, did we have 2 or 3 games of it there? Because it's so quick, and so it's so simple to teach, it's so quick to keep playing. Oh, it was so good to get back to it again. We're nowhere near as good as we used to be, and to teach people, like, brand new to it as well. Like, it's probably good that all of our skills have faded because we were all in it together. But yeah, I always want to shout out Fuse because it is just one of the best games. Even if you're not into real time, give it a go. It's not like we were talking afterwards about things like Kitchen Rush, where I adore Kitchen Rush, but if somebody isn't doing well in Kitchen Rush, it is very apparent that they are not doing very well at it. In a game like Fuse, everyone is going to mess up in some way and be the cause of someone losing something perfect. So it's kind of a lot more shared out in that way. But yeah, play Fuse if you haven't. It's amazing. Also, for the first time, played Fuji Flush, which, you know, if anything's got like a 3+ player count, I tend to ignore it. I'm mainly a 2-player gamer. These things just pass me by. So we played like a big, was there like 7 of us playing Fuji Flush, which I think is the kind of design behind it, a Freedom and Freeze game. So there are a load of numbered cards. You will play a card from your hand on your turn, and so that's the you need to kind of, if you beat the value of the cards out there, then everyone has to discard those cards and draw a new one. If it comes back around to your turn and your card's still out, you just discard the card and don't take a new one. You're trying to get rid of all of your cards. But the trick is, if I play a 2 and then Rach next to me plays a 2 as well, they get added together. So the value of them is a 4. So someone's now got to play higher than a 4 to flush those cards. So it's called Fuji Flush, I assume. So and if somebody else played a 2 they would all combine, and now there are 6, and you've got to beat that 6. You can see there's big numbers out there that are less common, but there's that kind of teaming up element as well, that like if somebody's put a card out there that's only got like 1 card left and they're about to win, you think, I don't want to play a card that's going to make your card stronger and make you stay in it. I want to try and flush your card out, or I want to not make it harder for other people to do that. It worked really well. We played at least a couple of games of that, I think. Then, why aren't you coming up, browser? I need to change to something else now. Are we going back? Are we going to real pictures now? I think we are leaving the browser again and going to real pictures. So, oh, there we go. There's BeaCon. It's Skipton, I think, was the town of those, which was lovely as well. We had a bit of a look around Ilkley of Skipton. Probably should have, like, on retrospect, we should have done that on the Friday before the convention had started, because we realised, like, these were pictures Rach took as we were leaving, that it's in such a beautiful place. That actually we didn't have a walk around or a look around this place until we were leaving, because we were like spending so much time kind of wandering around the town or gaming, which is fantastic, but we just kind of thought at the end, oh, next time we come back here, which, yeah, we'll definitely be back for something. I'm not quite sure what yet. Like, there's something happening in August that I'd like to be going to, but there's some question marks about things. There's some, like, I'm definitely going to Essen. I'm confirming that right here. But yeah, the price of some of the things is terrifying. I'm not staying in Essen, that's just madness. But other things that we played there that I can just chat about for having played as well. Slay the Spire, the board game, which I think I've done a playthrough, right? But I don't think I've kind of, because I don't really do first impressions anymore, because I stopped wanting to. Maybe I should for some things. But Slay the Spire, partly because I love and have spent so much time playing the video game, the board game is such a good adaptation of it. Like, and at the same time, not being a one-for-one. That's the kind of thing when I was looking at the Kickstarter and trying not to look too much because I couldn't afford it. Just like, this looks too much like they've one-for-one made the video game, and I've got the video game, so this is just going to be hassle. That is not the case at all. It turns out so much has been not fundamentally changed, but tweaked in terms of like damage numbers and stuff. Everything has been done to remove upkeep. You've still got to shuffle cards and stuff and flip cards around. All of the cards have got, on their back, they've got the upgraded form. That's why everything's in sleeves. It's got to be, because the upgrade's on the other side. So damage values, poison doesn't tick down, it has a different effect. All of the status ailments, they don't last a whole turn anymore. They just last until the next attack happens, and then you take them away. Like, it is amazing how many of the cards have been brought in, how many of the effects have been brought over, and just changed so that they take so much hassle out for you. It does mean that certain things like the relics are still lovely to accumulate. They are not as kind of, they don't make you feel as powerful as they do in the video game. But yeah, it comes together to make such an amazing game. Oh, that's the next thing. Yeah, there's so much to come out still in the year. But yeah, I would be shocked if that's not in my top 10 of the year, which, you know, full bias. Like, hey, I'm not sponsored. I bought that game, spent like whatever it was, £150. It's not a cheap game. It is a beautifully made, beautifully presented game. But yeah, I love the video game so much. The board game works so beautifully. And the biggest thing that I haven't even mentioned is that it makes it co-op. So another thing that will be coming up probably in August as well, there will be a new playthrough where Rach joined me and we played it 2-player, and that's kind of where it shines. I've still really enjoyed it solo. It's perhaps harder solo and has maybe been balanced towards you cooperating. There's definitely like, there's something to help you in the solo. There's a special card, and the health value of bosses and stuff changes based on the player count even at solo. But the enemies come in different lanes, and everyone in your lane is going to attack you or every player. You can attack anybody you like. The attacks that would attack everybody attack a whole row rather than every enemy. But yeah, that straight away opens things up massively. And it's full of cooperation the whole way through. You're constantly chatting about how you can do things, in what order you should do things, because you play your turns simultaneously. You do all of your actions, then the enemies go. And so yeah, you're trying to work out who's taking the damage, who can defend it, who can kill these things, where should we be putting the damage. And later on you start to get abilities that can apply defense to other players rather than yourself. Your basic defense just apply it to you, like in the video game. Later on you'll be able to apply it to other players. The multiplayer aspect is so beautiful to it. And at BeaCon, kind of why the volume of games we played might not be huge, because we spent most of Saturday, I think, playing all 3 acts of Slay the Spire, like at 4 player as well, which does take longer. But yeah, it's such a good experience, and we've unlocked the Act 4 now, so we'll get to see that next time we play. And another thing that we played, Georgina brought her unplayed copy to kind of break it out of Castles of Burgundy Special Edition, which so far up to now I have kind of managed to avoid, because I have got the original Castles of Burgundy that we got. I might have got it as a present or something, but I remember at the time, whenever that was, 2015, 2014, 2013, used to be able to get it on Amazon for about £15. That's kind of why we got it. I didn't know anything about Stefan Feld, didn't really know much about this, saw that it would kind of got good ratings on Board Game Geek, and it's £15. What's the harm in that? Turns out Castles of Burgundy is one of the best games ever. So, like, it's had that other version that was made, the anniversary edition, that included all the expansions, but in my opinion, like, I think Castles of Burgundy looks fine. Like, definitely some colours could be more distinct. And like, yeah, maybe it is a hard sell to non-Eurogamers that actually the thing that looks like this is fantastic. I've never had a problem really with how it looked at. If you change some of the colours to make them look a bit less similar, it's fantastic. The anniversary edition that came out, great that you could get all the expansions, because some I still haven't got. The ones that I did get, probably, like, I think some are just printed off, like some player boards, and some just kind of happened upon that are probably hard to get hold of now, like the trade routes cards and things. So it's good that they were all in the one place. I think it made it look worse, though, than the original edition, so never got that. This version has, like, kind of done everything. So it comes in an enormous box. Now, I'm sure you've seen other people do the special edition, so I'll try not to go into it too much. It comes with minis for your castles that you don't have to use. It comes with tiles as well. But, you know, you've got dual layer boards, you've got this plastic overlay to put on your castle board that doesn't quite line up, I'll say. Yeah, everything is made fancy. Metal, silverlings, wooden goods tiles. Everything is deluxeified for this special edition. Fancy dice for each player. So yeah, it is an absolutely wonderful production, which kind of up to now I've tried not to look too closely at, because I've got the original. I can't get this expensive new edition. But it comes with all of the expansions that you'd expect. I think it's like 30 odd player boards and 4 copies of every single one of them. But it also comes with new stuff as well. Like, I'm not sure, like, I don't know if the shields came in anything else. There's these shields that you can play with that we didn't, where if you roll doubles, you can give up both of your actions and get one of these crazy shields for the rest of the game if you can pay its upkeep at the end of every round. That were like, whenever anybody gets workers, you also get 1 worker. You can count, like, you can get a yellow tile that's not in the game and put it on here, and you have that for the rest of the game, or for as long as you can pay for this, and they'll provide you with points as well. That seems really cool. But, like, as overpowered as that sounds, you've got to give up a double for that. You've got to roll the double in the first place to get one, and then you've got to give up 2 of your actions, a whole turn, just to get that tile, and then you've got to be able to pay the silverlings, which you have to pay for before you get the income from your mines at the end of every round to keep that power going. But the one we did play with is I think the big new thing for the special edition is the Vineyards expansion. You can see that little board in the background there. There's a plastic stand for the vineyards, so there are these double tiles that you can either buy the ones that are lying down, or you can use dice to get the ones that are standing up. I can't rotate my hand properly to make you look at that, but you also have this board at the side. See that? That's not the normal Castles of Burgundy board on the right hand side there. You've got this triple layer board that you are putting these tiles on, and as you cover up the spaces, they will activate powers. Most of the powers are powers that buildings do, and there are kind of new to us promo tiles that were like a building that gives you an action with the value of the white die and some other things. So yeah, you are basically activating powers of buildings by laying these tiles out, and you are trying to make groups of connected colours of those for big scoring at the end of the game as well. It was so fantastic. Like, it's not like an extra thing. It's not a particularly big thing to be thinking about and to be adding to the game, but like the kind of extra depth to your decision that it gave you. There is always kind of a moment, it depends on your luck in Castles of Burgundy, and there's always workers and different ways to get what you want. Inevitably, I think, there will be a couple of times a game, if not more, where you are stuck with just, I've got no workers, these numbers are the worst thing I could have rolled, I'm just going to have to spend a turn getting workers and doing this one thing, or I'm pretty stuck for the choice that I have in the situation I've put myself in. Sometimes that's my fault for putting myself in that position, I understand that. But yeah, even so, don't feel great. The vineyards and the kind of freedom that you can see kind of numbers a little bit as well. So it's similar, like you're taking double tiles, and that's an extra thing as well, that they take up 2 spaces in your storage. You've only got 3 spaces, so you've got to free up space for putting them in. The extra powers that you can activate and the extra decisions that you can make based on that, the more ways to get what you want done, that you're not necessarily like, you're not pinned by your dice as much, I think. I still had to get dice once maybe in the whole game, because I could see that, like, well, these dice are rubbish, but actually I don't particularly want that colour, but I could put it in this space and that would give me a load of workers, or let me get the tile that I wanted. That happens so much. I think it's such a fantastic expansion that, like, yeah, Castles of Burgundy was so fantastic. I think, is that on my top 10? I have to watch. I need to do a top 10 again. I know it's been like 5 years, but yeah, it's one of my favourite games, and before I played the special edition, I was firmly on the side of, no, you don't need to add to Castles of Burgundy, it is perfect as it is. I don't want to see the special edition, partly because I knew if I see it, I'm going to want it. And yeah, we've played it now, and I want it. It's so good. I want to be pure and say, like, no, the cheap original edition is where it's all at, and that is still a absolutely fantastic, a practically perfect Euro game. Oh, but it's been made as begrudgingly as I can say this, because I know that I'm going to end up getting it at some point. The special edition's beautiful. It is done incredibly well, and that new Vineyards expansion is fantastic. I haven't played the solo mode, but this is Georgina's copy, and she has kindly lent me her copy, so I've got it. And yeah, it's going to be going in the vote that I'll do tonight. Like, I haven't played the solo mode yet. I know there's a new exciting solo mode in it as well. I didn't play the solo mode that was in the anniversary edition because I didn't get that. So I don't think I've played any Castles of Burgundy solo. So it will be cool to see it, but I hear that it's a good solo mode as well. So yeah, it's unfortunately for my finances, it's a fantastic version of the special edition. And what else is there? There's some more looks at it. There it is, looking beautiful. The minis for the castles I could take or leave. Like, it's nice, like, you've got these little stacking towers for the turn order, which I don't understand actually. Like, I know that stacking ships wouldn't make as much sense, but it's weird that we're going along this tower track when we're putting ships down for it. And then you had these like lovely, you can kind of see them there. There's the towers for the turn order, and you can just about see you have these busts for your score that are very nicely done as well. It's a deluxe-fied thing. We also played Loot. Hey, there's my slipper and sock. We played Loot with Georgina, and also Flav from Hachette Games, who went as well. Brought over one of his company's games and taught us this. So I think we've got a view of the board, right? So you've got all of these Vikings that you place down. We start out by the sea in this randomly laid out map. You'll put a Viking down, it will cover up a resource. You get that resource, you put it down on your player board. Certain buildings that you'll put adjacent to, so going next to a house gets you the house. Connecting up 2 towers gets you a tile from each of the towers. Putting a line of, I think, 4 Vikings connected to a castle gets you the castle. You have these pre-printed buildings on your, not pre-printed, you have these predefined tiles that you get at the start of the game. You need a certain number of resources, houses, towers, that kind of thing, to complete them and get some big points. But at the end of every turn, you can see they're kind of on our player board. On the water here, will be these extra ships that we can get, these long ships. You can take one at the end of every turn. They're with negative points if you haven't finished them, but if you can work out your spatial puzzle to the point where, so that's one of the pre-printed ones there, and you can see the resources that are next to it. If you can get a long ship like there that also wants 2 of these axes, then that would fulfill at the same time. So there's a nice kind of planning element to it that you're going to mess up sooner or later, if you're me. You're trying to place things as efficiently as possible to fulfill all of these things and not be left with long ships at the end that are worth negative points. But also, everyone's getting in the way of each other as well. You can place next to any Viking, and you have some abilities that let you take 2 placements in a row, either get double the resources from one space, or you can place where somebody else's thing is. So there's a lot of, especially at 4 players, it can get quite crowded, and there's a lot of getting in each other's way and racing into things. Yeah, it was fantastic. I think, as I mentioned earlier, it's from the design of Acropolis, which I haven't played yet. Hoping to at some point soon. Then expansion's coming out, isn't it? At Essen. But yeah, it worked very nicely. And I think, as the final picture you can see... Oh no, where is it? It's disappeared. There was a picture of Marty nursing the, he was very affectionate towards the Castles of Burgundy box. A lot of face rubs to get used to it. So that was BeaCon, and then there's even more things that I'll try not to be too verbose about that I have played. That is still June. So much has happened. So many games have been played. So, Europa Universalis. This is going up now. So I have experience with the game of Europa Universalis. So that I've not played it for that many hours. I've played it, and I have watched, I don't know how much I watched a friend play it. A little bit. Yeah, I've got a friend who is a lot more into it and a lot better at things like this than me. I've played more Crusader Kings, not the newer one, the old, is it 2? That I've played a lot more of, and Stellaris I played a bit of, and I'm tempted to play Europa Universalis and Stellaris again now. But this is taking Europa Universalis, that was a big, heavy game that they thought, this is a bit too big and heavy and complicated, why don't we make it a video game? It'd probably work better as that. They did. There's 4 of them now. Very successful, very big, deep, simulation story kind of things. And so last year, I think it was Game Founded or Kickstarted, that came out with Europa Universalis, The Price of Power, which takes that and doesn't convert it the way the original board game was, but maps it out so it can work as a board game. And I've since looked up, the board game for Stellaris is going through some things and hasn't delivered and looks a bit unsure. Hopefully they make it. There is a board game of Crusader Kings that sounds like it's kind of random take-thatty, which Crusader Kings is not. But the board game for Europa Universalis, it's possibly, if you believe Board Game Geek's number rating, the heaviest game I have covered on the channel, I think. Possibly the heaviest game I've played. I think On Mars, according to Board Game Geek, was the heaviest, even though the expansion to On Mars has got a lower weight rating. For some things, it does work easier. And 1862, that I'd say for me, maybe because I'd never played an 18xx game before, that was one of the hardest games to learn for me, which I still really enjoyed. This is an enormous, hours and hours and hours long game. You're playing over hundreds of years in game time, and you start off with little provinces on the map of half of Europe, and you are trying to, through military, through trade, through political intrigue, you are trying to spread your influence across the continent and stuff. So as well as this multiplayer mode that it has, it's got a dedicated solo mode that I don't know. Oh, Gareth here has got the game set up for a intro scenario versus 2 bots. So it's got a solo mode by David Torcy, who you probably know well from solo modes. A lot of games have got a solo mode by David Torcy, and he has done a fantastic job, and the team as well, done a fantastic job of, it's a complex solo mode, because it's a very complex game, but it's done through flowcharts and things, so I don't think there's a picture here of somebody with the bot book out. It's a load of flowcharts that at the start you're thinking, how am I ever going to get to grips with any of this? But very quickly on a turn, you start to get used to, oh, none of this stuff's ever going to be true. I can just go down to the bot draws a card, pays some power, and does a thing. And so it comes with a load of scenarios. You can make your own. There's a very dedicated community on Discord to this that were massively helpful for me doing a playthrough of it, because I had to learn it in like a week or something like that. It was very quick and like very involved. So the solo scenario that I played anyway, you play as Brandenburg, that's just got a tiny little section of the map, and there is a Denmark bot that's got a huge section up here. There's an Austria bot that's got a huge section down here, and they are the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire in 1444, I think is when the game started, and you want to try and kind of survive in the middle of all of that, and expand and score points and stuff, fulfill your missions, make good events happen to you and all of that. Yeah, it's not, like, as a multiplayer game, obviously, I am Care Bear Plus. I've got no interest in playing it like that. As a solo game, it's so good. It's like, it's one that, like, I know that because of, like, the stuff that I do here, the job that I do on this channel, and the number of games I need to play and keep learning, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get back to this, because I filmed this for... it was days, and edited it for days. I've just finished editing, actually. I've done the first age of 3 ages, which is 4 rounds of the game. They obviously took longer to film. Edited down, the first round is an hour, and I think the other rounds are about 30 to 40 minutes, because you don't have to explain as much once we've done the first round. It is a huge game. I think I've seen, like, if you're more experienced and you know the game better, yeah, they're 2 different things to say. I think it's like a 10 to 12 hour solo thing. So it's something you need to kind of be able to leave out and keep coming back to, or dedicate like a huge day or weekend to. Saying to Rach at the end, as I was having to pack it away, if I had like a gaming table with the leaves on it where you could leave something set up underneath permanently while you do other stuff, like, I'd love to have it set out and just keep going back to it, because it is, like, it's so heavy, it's so complex, but it is so good. And there's probably loads of areas of the game I didn't even touch on. There's a scenario that comes in the expansion book where you play as what's left of the Byzantine Empire. So there is, like, you have 2 tiny spots out on the map against these big civs, and you need to rebuild the Byzantine Empire in defiance of history. Like, yeah, it's so well done at, like, replicating the feeling and the story that the video game tells. Well, it can't, like, the video game is infinite. There is so much to that, especially with expansions that I've probably only ever played the base game of it. There is hundreds of dollars worth of expansions like that, because that's what that company does. But yeah, it works so well. There is a video on Price of Power. I have done, you can see the first 2 parts so far. There will be 4 parts of it, 4 rounds for the first age. They're coming out every other day. So I think the next one's coming out tomorrow, part 3. It's so big. Sorry, I've been off in my own world. Hey, Neil. And just rambling. James, you got a copy of Arkham Horror 3rd Edition? I haven't really played it yet. It's fantastic. Ignore my video from when it came out, that I don't think I was as pleased about it. It is like a strange marriage of Eldritch Horror and the card game. And, like, just treating it as its own separate thing, it does what it does very well. Like, I don't like it as much as Eldritch and Arkham 2nd Edition. Do I prefer it to the card game? Maybe, you know. Which, like, makes it sound like I don't like the card game, like, ranking it below all of these things. There are things about the card game that really annoy me. There are things that only the card game can do in the, like, building of your decks and stuff, but let's not get back into that game. I'm still sore from the last time we've played it is a bad experience, so we need time for that to heal so I can be effusive about the card game again. So Europa Universalis, there is a lot happening. Yonder. So these, I'll say as well, like, full disclosure again, like, Europa Universalis, that was a sponsored playthrough that is happening, and the next couple of things, I'll say them as well, as Yonder by Sinister Fish Game, and, like, this is kind of continuing on. It's not part of the trilogy of Villages and Streets and Moon. I was trying to say them in the right order. I kept trying, my mouth wanted to say Moon first, but No, we'll do them in order. It's like it's not part of that trilogy. It is a separate big game of its own, a big fantasy worker placement game. So we have been chosen by the gods to come to this distant shore and build our settlements here. Each player is going to build out a settlement, and it's a worker placement game. These are some sample buildings that you can put in your settlement. You place a worker on there, you get the effects. First wrinkle, like there is a central board where we'll be placing workers to do things. You have worker spots on buildings that you build. Anybody can use your buildings, like it's worker placement. Spot is taken, you can't go there for the rest of the round. All of the workers need to be fed at the end of a round. So by using somebody's building, you are blocking that space off for them. And maybe someone will build a building kind of, not quite Le Havre style, but, like you might want it to be used by someone else, because the benefit for you is you get their worker when we lock up at the end of a round. Downside is workers need to be fed. So there is a little like competitive thing there of not just racing to use the spots. You can, if you want to play like that, you can try and deliberately mess people up that they will have too much of a food bill, or they will have to dedicate some of their round to getting more food now that you've increased their food bill. You need to deliver to these envoys here on the right hand side. Like you don't need to, but you should. You start off with one ship and you'll get a new one at the end of each of the first 3 rounds. And you can deliver to an envoy. They want a certain thing. They'll reward you with points, loads of points at the beginning of the game and progressively fewer points. So you want to try and get ones early on. But they will also give you a bonus in terms of drawing more cards, in terms of getting more resources without having to activate buildings. And potentially get loads of bonuses all at once that will let you deliver to another envoy and all of that. And there are ways to get more ships, so you can potentially get more envoys than you can have, but they're staying with you for the rest of the game. There are some powers that let you get rid of some, but generally that's a commitment you're making. In round 1 they're worth a load of points, but you've got to deliver to that guy 4 more times over the course of the game, and if you don't, big penalties. But the kind of big thing about it as well is the asymmetric workers. So you can see all of these various types of meeples here. Well, we need a new word, don't we, now? Now it's getting trademarked, but these lovely workers that they have in here, they are all different shapes and stuff. That's not just player colour. In fact, any player can have any of these workers. They all do different things. So the goblins, they don't have a special power. They're a normal worker. They get placed, no one else can go there, which is generally true for most of them. The skeletons here, they're a normal worker as well, but they don't need to be fed. They're skeletons, they don't need food. There are, I think we just about see them in the other picture. Here we go. Stood next to a skeleton is an elf. They break that rule of worker placement. They can go in spaces with other workers that have already been taken, as long as another elf isn't already there. So if somebody goes to a space just with an elf, no one else can go there this round. Unless an action lets you bring a worker back from somewhere. The dwarves, when you do actions that convert things, so you can see there's a little dwarf hiding behind this action. Anybody can go there, but if you spend there with a dwarf, you can get a discount of one of the resources you should be paying, which is a big thing. And then the golems here, you can see a little golem hiding behind this building. There's a nice little iconography thing showing you how they, like the places where that worker would be effective. They can go anywhere, but if you place a golem here, when they're getting resources, they get double the number of resources they would get. So 2 meat instead of 1, or like 4 hay instead of 2. But you need to feed them 2 food at the end of the round. So there's all of that going on. I have done a 2-player playthrough with the Little Glass Marty. That will be coming up very soon. It launches, I think, on the 16th. So yeah, not long to wait for that. And then the other sponsored thing is Luthier, which is... Golem thought they were trolls. Ogres. They're ogres, right? They're not golems. I keep saying golems. They are goblins, are the green ones, skeletons, elves. These are dwarves, and these are ogres. Have I got that right? Did I say golems? Because I keep thinking of them as golems. And if it says in the description, here we go. Ogres, yes. Not golems, though, if I said that. Yes, the other thing that is coming up around the same time as well, going back to the medium-heavy side of things, Luthier. from Pavison Games, who did Distilled, which you can check out my playthrough of that if you haven't yet. Here we are crafting musical instruments in the heyday of classical music. Are there a load of pictures here? Or you can kind of see the mock-up here. I should have got my playthrough playing in the corner, because there is going to be a solo playthrough of this coming up, which everything I'm doing is the same in the multiplayer game. The bot does its own thing, but competes with you. So this is a little bit, it's a bit more final now, the version that I've got. So this is a bit of an earlier prototype. So we are doing worker placement. See these discs down here? You have little wooden discs for your workers. You start off with a 1, 3, and a 5. I can't remember the game that's done a similar thing to this, but maybe you will when I tell you about it. There are worker placement spots, a couple on your board that only you can go to, but there are stations on the main board. There are 5 spaces where you could go. So we have some upkeep at the start, then we have some planning. Everyone places their workers face down in secret on these locations, and then we have resolution, when we actually take the actions. After everyone's placed all of their workers, on your turn you will choose an action to resolve, get the stack of discs and lay them out on, I'm pointing at my actual window rather than the thing you can see, stack them out on the resolution board, and from left to right. So let's say that I've played my 1 worker, you've played your 3. Your 3 will get put first because that's a more experienced worker. They will get to go first in that section. But if another player placed a 3, they would go in between me and you, because they placed a 3 as well, but you were there first. So there's priority for going there earlier as well. You have apprentices that you can place with your workers that add 1 to the value. So when you go to places, you will generally be getting the cards from the places. You can also get some resources as well, but there is a section to get, at the salon you can get patrons. So like classical composers, you can get Mozart as a customer, as a patron, who will come onto your player board, who will give you rewards at the start of every round, but has limited patience for your shenanigans. You got to make him an instrument. You got to make him a stringed instrument by the time that he gets fed up of you or he's clear enough. You can go to the guild where you can get plans to build an instrument. You can also, like, alternatively, you can get resources instead of getting the card if you really want resources. But if you don't, what am I trying to think of here? If, like, say you've gone there and the card you wanted's gone, or like there's a couple of spaces that it's free to take from, and then it's like 4 money, 8 money to take from here, or you can pay to go through the entire deck at a really hefty cost, like later on in the game when you desperately need something. So yeah, if there's nothing that you want, you can still do a kind of secondary action to get some resources, and locations have extra bonuses if you go there with a worker of a high enough value, which is another thing tempting you as well. Yeah, you get the plans for instruments, and then there are actions on your player board. They go to the left and you pay resources to rough them, and then they go to the finishing side here. You do another action on this side, you pay resources to finish them, and then hopefully you've got a patron that wanted that kind of instrument. It fulfills one of their requirements, and if that's it, they're pleased, you get a load of points and stuff from them. But there is also performing. There is a bit of a dice mini game there where you're trying to put on a good enough performance that puts something into the orchestra and earns you a load of points and money and stuff. And then repairing instruments costs some resources, gets you points, lets you put tokens in the orchestra. So in the orchestra, there is a bit of an area control thing here that if you build an instrument and put it in a space, you get the bonus of the space if there isn't already an instrument there, and you take first chair. And there's a bit of kind of brinksmanship, not the right word, I feel like I'm saying it wrong now, but yeah, when you get these performance and repair tokens, they can go out there, but if you put 1 down and someone later gets 2 in the same section, they can take first chair from you. But then if anybody does a musical instrument in that space, it knocks you all out and nobody can usurp a musical instrument. There are kind of like legendary instruments you can make that reward you with more stuff. You can go to the balcony, and there are like public goals that everyone's competing for. That's how you achieve them, and you go along this reputation track and get bonuses. You can go up tracks for the performing and the repairing and make you more effective at making instruments or rolling better dice when you're performing to get better results, and you end up rolling this resource die that can get you things. You can take an action at the market and buy and sell goods, which is how you can get more stuff to actually make the instruments, although you're quite limited by your storage space. Oh yeah, like, remember at the beginning I said I'm paid to make a playthrough of this for like express opinions and things. I've been excited since I saw it as basically I don't know if it was like completely black and white at last year's Expo, but when I just saw the basic prototype of it and heard how it all works and stuff, it sounded so good. Say from playing it a bit, I've only played it 2-player and solo, and unfortunately for me anyway, fortunately for you because somebody else gets to look at it and tell you about it, but unfortunately for me, like the playthrough is done and it's had to go to somebody else. Like we'll be featuring it again, I'm sure, when it's in its final version. But yeah, a solo playthrough is coming up very soon. It's probably going to be coming up next week on Patreon, and then it's going to come up on the channel on the launch of the campaign, which is very soon. So I think there are a couple more things that are not sponsored things. So Paul Grogan, back to that guy again, has been going on about ISS Vanguard so much, which I've kind of just not really looked too much at. For whatever reason, I don't really know why, because I like sci-fi stuff, I like story stuff, I like exploration stuff. But yeah, Paul has been, like, he did videos for us at the time, didn't he? But he has, for the last, like, few months, been playing through with his group and doing, like, Patreon streams of it. And he's made it sound so interesting that, like, I don't want to watch them, I want to play it. So I've got a copy. And I've played, like, the quick start, like, tutorial of it. So I've only kind of played the beginning. I played the actual tutorial and I thought, I'm going to film this, like, there's a way that you can do, like, instead of the guided tutorial, you can kind of make it a bit freer. So we're like, the story is, I don't know, silly in a sci-fi way. The setup, perhaps, rather than the actual story once you get into it, that, like, we found divine coordinates in our DNA and they point to a location in space and we need to go there and see what's happening. There's your setup, and you do some kind of, you do a load of dice checks and encounters and things and progress along this story. And then, and this seems to be the divisive thing in it, it depends how much you like admin of stuff. After you've done an encounter on a planet, you go out to ship management, and this seems to be the bit where it loses people. There is a great big, it's in the box so I can't show you it, there is a big binder full of, like, you know, you get the binders for trading cards and stuff with the pages in there and you'll slot the cards in. There is one of those binders in this game that is full of different pages for, like, the bridge, the medical bay, all of these various places on the ship. And in between the actual sessions, you will go to the ship and do a billion things on it, like upgrade all of these things, go to certain locations and get things produced or get things researched. You can only go to a couple, at least in your first ship encounter one. You can go to a couple of the places and get things started a little bit, but it's still, like, early on gets all these things unlocked. You can spend these crew to, you can, like, make them exhausted so they can't come on the next adventure, to make things progress a little bit quickly, but you can see situations that are arising that you're going to have to deal with next time. There is energy that you get that you need to spend on surveying the planet that you want to go to next, which will give you some idea of the kind of crew it will be good to take there next. And you don't have to do that surveying, but it can help you be more effective in the scenario next time if you do take them. Yeah, I've only, like, done that initial thing, the initial quick start tutorial and the first proper, like, it's kind of a guided ship phase, but you still get, like, the full effect of it. I love, like, I enjoyed, like, it's still kind of, it's not guided, but it's still a bit tutorial-y, that first planet. I love the admin part that seems to be, like, when I've seen things about it, people have loved, like, that exploration bit and hated all of the upkeep and admin that comes after it. I love that bit, like, probably more. But Derek tried to like it. It's great elements. You enjoyed doing the ship. You enjoyed doing the ship management as well, more than the planets. Like, I've only seen that tutorial planet so far, but yeah, I loved all of that stuff. I loved slotting things into that folder. I loved, like, finding new secret things. Like, we'll see how it goes, because I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to do another one where I, like, try and do, like, you have to go to a planet for your second game, and then after that it lets go of you, I think, and you can just do completely what you want. So yeah, I don't know that I'm going to do, like, a whole campaign thing, but because, like, I always want to. Like, we've done 3 of Agamonia, and we've had such a big gap from that just because of time and being in all these places. June's basically just been running about, it feels like. Yeah, we want to do the 4th, because the 4th scenario of Agamonia introduces you to all of the city stuff that we don't know about yet, that sounds really cool. The downside is, as you do any kind of campaign things, like the number of people watching drops off a cliff every single episode. So like doing a full thing of it, like I want to do it, and I have pushed past that plenty of times. Hey, doing those full Arkham Horror card game campaigns has proved that I'll defy the majority of the audience and push through anyway. But yeah, I don't know that I can commit to like what's Agamonia? Has it got 30 scenarios in it? And ISS Vanguard, I don't know how many sessions that would take. I'm thinking, like, I don't want to lock things off for people. Like, I'm torn between, I would like, ideally, everything to be available to everybody. And I would like more incentives to be on Patreon. And those two things fight against each other because they can't entirely coexist. And, like, the problem with doing, like, Patreon exclusive things is, I haven't got time to make the things that I'm already making, never mind make an extra thing. But I'm wondering if maybe after that 4th Agamonia, if we've even got time to keep playing more, we maybe do live Patreon streams for that, and maybe that's what I'll do. I'll put some Vanguard playthroughs out, and then maybe I'll keep carrying on playing it on stream, because the other thing is, oh well, maybe we just play it ourselves then off stream. We don't get that much time. It's kind of an excuse doing it on stream that, oh, we get to play it. Like Role Player Adventures, I don't know that we would have played through that entire thing had we not been streaming it all. Admin is great. Yes, Joel, ISS Vanguard has been recorded. It will probably be coming up in August. So we will be, like, Rachel and I will be going on a holiday for a bit of August, for a big chunk of August. So there will be less live then, but there is a fair bit lined up. I think that's when all that stuff's going to go up. I haven't like finalised anything yet, and a load of it needs editing still. But there are some things, like, say what you want to see the most. There's a Slay the Spire 2-player playthrough with Rach. There is the Eldritch Horror with Paul. There's a Paperback Adventures playthrough with a different book that I didn't do the first time. There's some ISS Vanguard. What else is there? There's loads of stuff. I'm hoping that there's going to be that 4th Agamonia. It's not been filmed yet, just because there has been no time. We were thinking maybe we'll get a chance this weekend, but like, it's always wishful thinking that I should know after this many years of doing this that there is not time to do that. And today, like, in preparation for this stream, like, my computer wouldn't turn on today. Like, it's like at the final hour that it decided to just start up again. I don't know what's up with it. Luckily, it's lasted through this. And I think, is that all of the games that I'm going to talk about? Okay, Wormspan's cheating a bit. I played that in July. But yeah, I'm going to talk about Wormspan briefly because I think it's amazing. Like, I love Wingspan as well. So, like, it's got that going for it already, having like the fundamental system. But yeah, I am I think a Stonemaier champion is like, isn't that a subscription service? I'm a champion of Stonemaier things. I love so many of their games, and like, it's especially like playing Euphoria and stuff, and Viticulture were among like the very early games that we played, so I've got great nostalgia for all of that stuff. But yeah, I've loved Wingspan and its various iterations, and unlike seemingly like, I bet a lot of people were enthused as well, but saw a lot of kind of, I don't know if it's what like social media wants to direct at me, but whenever a Stonemaier announcement comes up, there seems to just be a load of grousing about it, rather than, oh, cool, the thing's out, that might be good. And like, I love Wingspan, I love Apiary, and Connie Vogelman is the designer of Apiary. So the marriage of the kind of the bones of Wingspan, and it's had development from Elizabeth Hargrave as well, and so like the fundamentals of Wormspan. You can see I did yesterday I streamed I'm clicking this rather than an actual window. I'm clicking the streaming software. So I know I'm coming late to this, and everyone's probably like streamed it and talked about it already, but you've got a similar board to Wingspan. You've got the 3 rows, but these 3 rows aren't tied to actions anymore. So at the start, you just have, and if someone's got a picture of it, oh, these are nice little tiles. Hey, these James pictures. So at the start, you just have these caves, and you have one little cave section on the left here that you could put a dragon in. And that's all the space that you've got. So an action, pay a coin, kind of like action counters, but kind of not as well, because there can be costs for other things. So you pay a coin, you pay the cost on the dragon, you put it out, it's got an ability, like the birds in Wingspan. You've got cave cards, these little square ones here. So if you want to free up these spaces to be able to put dragons in them, you need to play cave cards first and excavate that space. Pay a coin, put a cave card down, in the third and fourth column they cost eggs. And then the other big thing is the explore action. So you've got a little dude here. He comes from base camp. He can go to one of the caves and go to first this space, get a cave card, then go to the dragon. If it's got a little adventure on it, do a thing. Then do a thing here. If there's no dragon here, there'll be a stop sign, so you have to stop. But hey, there's a dragon. He hasn't got a dude on him, so he's not going to activate anything though. Then activate this, then come to a stop sign, and then he comes back. So at the start of the game, when you haven't got dragons out, if you explore, you're just going to like get a resource, but no dice or dice tower or anything. It's choose what resource you want. And any 2 resources at any time can be converted to something else. In the middle, it's just get a dragon card. So the kind of build-up of Wingspan is there. You know, it's based on Wingspan systems. But I found like the rewards and combinations that come from playing these cave cards as well, especially like the last cave card you place is expensive because you've got to pay 2 eggs for it. Eggs are points. But you can pay combinations of resources to get more coins, which is more actions. There is this Dragon's Guild that will be different every game. I bet I can't find a picture of it now. There's a dragon. Oh, like, will it green screen it out? It's still kind of set up because I was dealing with the computer rather than putting the game away. There's a Dragon Guild that you can progress along, and every movement will get you like extra things. And when you get to the brown bit, there's a guild board with bonuses on it, and you can claim a bonus on this, which could just be points, or you could pay to do special powers. And there's, I think, 4 different guilds they'll change up, and they're different based on the player counts. There are still goals to compete for each round. There's still like an Ultima mode, which it's just kind of something to compete against in it. It's racing up, it's filling those spots on the guild board. It's not actually like, it's refreshing displays and stuff, but you're generally trying to build your own engine in it. There is a Revel mode that sounds pretty cool that I haven't played yet. I've only played the basic Ultima. But yeah, like, just saying, I wasn't like dismissive of this when it was announced. Thought like, Wingspan was great, so building off that is very promising, and Apiary was great, so the designer of Apiary coming onto this sounds great as well. And I like dragons, particularly bothered about it. They've also, you've got a book as well that gives you like, the flavor text isn't on the cards, which is a bit of a shame, but there's a lot of information on the cards. There's a little dragon facts book where you can see like all little quirky stories about the dragons and their behaviors. So I think that is it for my... I knew it was going to be long, but I didn't think I was going to be talking for that long about all of the stuff. There's been some great stuff. Like, yeah, I think Wormspan's fantastic. And, yeah, I don't really... Like, I've tried to avoid, like, anything about it, so I don't really know what other people thought about it. 8.1 seems good, though. Just remember, like, games aren't going to come out as 10s, so maybe, like, 7 for Fuse is pretty good in, like, averaging reviews language. Like, it's a 10. It's a 10 and nothing less than a 10. I wonder if there'll be more Span kind of games. Did I back Martin Wallace Fighting Fantasy? I didn't, but it's one that, like, there's a load of things like that. That, like, I say that I'm, like, I can't afford and I have to, like, really limit the things that I back. But at the same time, there's a load of shouting outside. At the same time, I bought Slay the Spire, which I did resist for ages and ages and ages, and that was a really expensive thing. And there's a couple of things at the moment I really want. What looks really good? Yeah, now I'm thinking about the late pledging for the Castles of Burgundy, because it was so good, and I don't want to. I was being so pure. I was so sure that I would never get this thing, but now I really want it. I can't remember the name of it. The Pokemon, but not Pokemon kind of board game. Not the Aeromon thing. I think they're coming out with a different game later, but the collect card game stuff I didn't think looked very good. But, or for me anyway, I should say. It didn't look like it was for me. But there's somebody else that's doing a game that looks very much like a board game version of Pokemon. That seems really cool. I would really like that. There's something else as well that I was thinking about. Yeah, Robomon, that's it. There's a great big... is it Odalin or something like that? The people that made Tenaris Adventures. I can't back that, though. That's... Even with all the stretch pays and things that they've got like that, I can't. My house is going to sink with all this stuff in it. Like, there's already such a space problem, but... Yeah. Awaken Realms is doing it. Time Troopers, a solo campaign game coming to GameFi. I don't think so. Time Troopers. The History Channel presents Time Troopers. I assume it's not that. Time Troopers, solo deck building campaign, battling through time. New solo deck management campaign, build a squad to travel back in time to find artifacts needed to save humanity's future. No, I didn't see this at all. Like, and that is a thing. Like, I think I was saying this in the pre-Expo stream. And there's things like looking back on my who did I have a meeting list to make sure I didn't leave any of those people off. Seeing some notes that I made. We went on the Friday and the Sunday of the Expo, and seeing the notes that I made after the Friday, on the Saturday, seeing people's posts on Facebook about, oh, look at this thing at the Expo. And I was like, we looked all over on Friday and didn't see that. Like, yeah, this sounds pretty cool. I don't think I saw Time Troopers anywhere. But this sounds very cool. I'm into solo campaigns. I'm into deck building. When is it coming out? There's nothing in the forums. I'll subscribe to it. Milionaris Games. If you're looking for a playthrough, my services are great. I do good things sometimes. All the time. What else was I going to say? Is that all of the stuff? Oh yeah, I was going to talk about, like, I think I've talked about some of these games so far, and I won't go into, like, a big ranked list of things. But this was just seeing something kind of, like... This usually happens towards the end of the year when everybody does their... I think a lot of people do, like, 6-month lists now as well. But it generally happens when people do their end-of-year list things, which I do as well. But seeing like kind of, oh, this has been such a terrible year that's a terrible half of the year so far. There hasn't been anything so far. And I always think like the year always seems so busy and that so many things have come out. And this is excluding like a couple of things that I will mention. Like our Kickstarters that I did videos for like back when they were on Kickstarter. But generally, like these are completely separate things. Like, I think almost all of them, actually, that I think are pretty exceptional things that have come out this year so far. They Slay the Spire, the board game, which I've already gone on and on about why I love that so much. I think it's amazing. I would be shocked if it's not in my top 5. At the moment, I feel like it's probably number 1 because I'm so obsessed. But... yeah, Slay the Spire, Ezra and Nehemiah, amazing, from Garfield Games, Windmill Valley that we talked about already. Probably, I don't know how much I would play this. We played it a little bit with Steve, actually, on Board Game Arena. I think it's been nominated for Spiel des Jahres, right? Captain Flip, like a very light game, which like generally don't play things that light a lot, but on Board Game Arena at least, that's been really fun, and I can see why it's been nominated. Agamonia came out, which I know we've only played like essentially the tutorial scenarios, but it's been so fun and so engaging and it has such a great lore around it already. I can't wait to see how that opens up. Speaking of like, well, I've already said Wormspan, that would be one for me, but in that kind of vein of Wingspan inspired things, Raising Robots was fantastic as well. I did a playthrough for that. Ezra and Nehemiah I did a Kickstarter video for, and Leviathan Wilds I did a Kickstarter overview for, which I know like maybe not very available if you didn't back the original thing, but a kind of Shadow of the Colossus inspired puzzly climb up this great big thing and try and turn it good. Yeah, it works beautifully. I've done a playthrough for that as well. Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs like kind of adds more randomness maybe than you might be used to from like the combat of Frosthaven and Gloomhaven, but like distills kind of a lot of the essence of Gloomhaven into a tiny solo experience. What haven't I said? Well, I've been skipping through this. Lorcana, which I've kind of like, for all of these TCGs, I look from the outside in that like, oh, it looks like it could be fun. Hey, Doctor Who's in Magic. Oh, that would be cool. I don't want to play Magic because I don't play fighting games. So fundamentally, everything from your Flesh and Bloods and hey, Star Wars got a new one and Lorcana and all of this. Oh, card game's coming out. Oh, it's fighting each other. Of course it is. Okay, I'm not interested. But Lorcana has come out with a co-op expansion, which is like more kind of basic co-op thing, but as a way to introduce people to card games and see maybe that there is more to card games than just let's have a duel between each other. Like we can play that fundamental game and work it around basically AI controlled enemy. I thought that worked fantastically and enables me to play Lorcana. And for expansions, Heat, Heavy Rain, it's like not just a couple of maps and the extra board, new cards and things, new dynamics in the flooded spaces, and just playing more Heat is great, more combinations for your championships as well. And New Frontiers Starry Rift, I absolutely love New Frontiers. I don't think I've done a playthrough for it yet, but new like the green worlds, like loads of just new extra things for New Frontiers. And I forgot actually, because it's been a few years, forgot how much we loved New Frontiers. And then a few standout things that haven't released this year but are new to me this year. Unsettled is kind of like not as basic as something like, I don't say basic as a bad thing, as like a forbidden desert or forbidden waters or something like that. That kind of, there's a great big grid of locations, we're going to explore them, see what's out there. We need to solve a thing, we need to find a thing. But Unsettled sends you to all these different planets, gives you all of these different missions, different ways to play, like, and tells an amazing story. We've only played like a couple of planets out of like the 9 that exist, and each of those planets I think have got like 4 fundamentally different missions, and by the time you've played all of them, you've probably forgotten the ones that you started with. Loved that Shadows of Kilforth I mentioned near the start. Loved that Europa Universalis. I went on about it in the main bit. Deep Rock Galactic, again, absolutely love the video game, so it was good to see like that kind of transplanted into cardboard form. And Plant and Ubo, the Uwe Rosenberg and Mike and Odie collaboration from Last Essen that I'm very late to, I realise. I won't be like this year though. I'm going. Snap these things up. I don't know though. I don't know I'm going to get them back. I'm very worried about this Essen trip. I'm concerned already. Time Troopers has got a preview page on GameFound. War of the World, there was the game at UKGE that was hit of the year when you went last year. Did you go? I think I would have been hidden away and stuff last year. I was less hidden away this year. I was more out and about. I was feeling it this year. War of the Worlds One More Day. I don't think I've seen that. I think it seems familiar that we've seen like signs of it. Signs for it, not signs of it existing. War of the Worlds, One More Day. Build your deck well to ensure you survive the Martian invasion of Victorian England. A solo story-driven deck building, exploration and survival game. Oh, that sounds cool. Oh, is it still like in development and stuff? Kickstarter might be this summer. I'll subscribe to that as well. Click. Sorry, my actual Board Game Geek thing that I'm logged into isn't on that browser. I get what you mean. And Time Troopers has a preview page on GameFound. Get posted in the forum about it. Not you, the publisher. I don't think there's a post in the Time Troopers forums. No, there's not a countdown yet. It'll be coming at some point. So there we go. That has a load of chat in it. So I'm going to do vote tonight on some of the something that will be covered in July. I'm going to try and do as many as I can, but I am already terrified at the things that I need to get ready. And I think like there's a playthrough that I might be doing live that's going to happen like just before we go on holiday as well, that I'm scared about. But yeah, I'm going to try my best do at least a couple of the things from the vote. So I know that Castles of Burgundy is going to be on there, the special edition and its new solo mode. And there's been a few things arriving. I can't remember quite what yet. I'm going to have to go and have a look around downstairs and see what it is. But yeah, if there's anything that you would like to see on the playthrough vote, let me know on in here or on Discord or on Patreon. So I'll post that later tonight. And yeah, we will probably be doing, not next week, but the week after, there will probably be something of that vote. Mystic Veil Nemesis, I'll put it in the vote. And make a note right now. So, Burgundy, Mystic Veil Nemesis. The Mystic Veil box is just there, crying out to be played again. That might have been the last time I played Mystic Veil, actually, which is scary. I love Mystic Veil. So yeah, there's loads of cool things coming up. There's what will there be now? So next week I'm going to be, I think I said it earlier actually, I'm going to be live with Deep Regrets, which I've done a 2-player playthrough for, recorded, but I'm going to be doing a live solo playthrough. Let's shout him. And there are plenty of things coming up. Yeah, on Patreon there'll be a couple of early playthroughs. There will be the Europa Universalis will finish over the weekend, I think into Monday. And there's there was a Patreon stream yesterday. Oh, maybe you haven't seen Wormspan actually. I did it yesterday, but yeah, it was a Patreon stream, and I'm gonna put it out on the channel as an edited thing at some point. Let's come back with Sandra happening. Ooh, how confident do I feel? Like I don't need to relearn Kanban. It's just getting the solo right I'm concerned about, and not getting instantly sacked, because it turns out I suck at the solo mode of Kanban EV. I'll put Kanban EV on there. That's the kind of, I think, usually for August vote, because like we'll be away in August, have to do them pretty quickly. So I think in August I do things that I know pretty well. And I think maybe for the last couple of years now, or was it last year that I did 2 Gallerist playthroughs really close together because they won the votes like each time. Put Gallerist in. I'll save Gallerist for August. Surely remember Gallerist. I love it. It is my favourite solo Lacerda. Well, I haven't played, like, one of those like notable omissions is Inventions. Like, I haven't played Inventions yet. I haven't played it and not liked it. I haven't got it. I hope to have it in the future, but who knows how things are going to go. And I'd love to be doing a playthrough for Speakeasy as well, but no news on that right now. But there are a load of things coming up. Steve's voted for Mystic Veil Nemesis for you. It does, like, decently, doesn't it? It gets some votes. Like, Peacemakers will be coming up as well, and I think Peacemakers hardly got any votes, which I was sad about. But Peacemakers is great. Okay. So I think, have I said all of the things I need to say? I think so. Well, at some points, like, I always think, like, oh, I'm going to have time, like, right now, this month's going to be great. Like, I was thinking that for at the end of May. June is going to be so busy, but July, I'm going to have time to do things. I'm going to be able to, like I've been saying for months to people that's, like, keep commenting on the Shadows of Brimstone videos, like, I just stopped after a few episodes because I ran out of time. And I keep saying, like, I haven't got time right now, but this summer it's going to come back. Like, it's going to be great. I'm going to film it all in July and it's going to be ready. I don't think so. Like, which is gutting. I really want to play Shadows of Brimstone. I haven't played it since New Year's, I think. Right now we were playing some is it Gates of Valhalla one. I want to get back to my Cowboys, the Gunslinger and the Orphan. See what adventures they go on. But it's just too much. Don't give up on Imperial, Steve. I'm putting it back in. It's still on the shelves, even though there's been I've had a bit of a... backer-wise, a bit of a unfortunate experience, I would say, back in the little expansion they did for Millennium Blades. Turns out, if you like, I think it just happens in it. It's some of it's postage and stuff. Just like, you've backed everything already for a game that's like got so many extra things and so many expansions, and then they do a new campaign with a reprint, and oh, we'll do an extra pack of cards for you. Like, we'll do a little expansion that you can get even if you've already got everything, which is great, but then the postage is crazy, and there's like, yeah, there's some questionable things with exchange rates and things on there that I think maybe they've just been programmed wrong. But yeah, I backed out of that because I wasn't very happy about how much a little pack of cards was happening. Yes, thanks, Steve. Steve, if you're not sure, well, I name check him in the videos, but Steve's the reason that the Klingon subtitles happen, because, I mean, they were a thing before Steve started doing them, but I could see that wouldn't have lasted up to this point. Like, I need to work out, I always forget this. I don't know if you noticed, by the way, like, I suppose the camera's not on. I don't know if you noticed that, I think it's only been in the Europa playthrough so far. I don't know if you noticed that this is a brand new cloth. I know it's got like bits on it, but that's because board games have cardboard dandruff. There's a whole new mat here. I keep wanting to like say something at the start of playthroughs to not like dismiss. I don't not want comments about goofs and stuff because, yeah, if someone's looking things up, it will be nice to be right and for people to be pointed in the right direction. I know all of that stuff, but there is a subset of that who seem to be under the assumption that I am like going to be 100% accurate in these, like, there's like sponsored videos that go up, but most of these playthroughs are done for like, not for free, but for the support of, thanks to patrons. Hey, patreon.com/slickerdrips if you'd like to support the channel. And that, yeah, it's even if you are trying to meticulously be right in something, like for a how to play video, you should do your utmost to get things right. And I'll say, even if you try your utmost and it goes through several people all checking things slip through. So when it's just like me on my own filming something and I'm doing a billion things, it's gonna, like, things are gonna slip through. And I'm kind of scatterbrained when it comes to making decisions and stuff, so things will slip through in there. What I'm trying to say is, I need to think of something to say at the start that is just going to be like, it's not a how to play. I'm just trying to like show you the gist of the game, how the game feels, what the game is like to play. I'm going to try to be right, but things will go wrong. Even if it's a game like, I would say, the games that I am most familiar with, I've ended up making the biggest mistakes on. Not exclusively. I've made terrible mistakes on things that were new to me as well. But yeah, there's like the million things you've got to think about while you're filming things, as well as having all cameras and microphones and poles and things in the way. Stuff's going to slip through, and like, I fundamentally don't think that it matters in terms of like a playthrough. Like, if it's something massively wrong and it fundamentally changes how the game feels to play, it needs massively signposting, or in a lot of cases, unfortunately, refilming. Unfortunately, because I haven't got time. But yeah, for general, like, it's worth a signpost, but like the angry comments that have come through because I didn't take a coin at 36.43, in the majority, they're lovely and helpful. But yeah, it's it can be wearing after, like, when you've got 8 years worth of videos and you look in the comments section and it's just a load of like something from 6 years ago. Why did you do this thing? I don't think that's possible. I don't know how to play that game anymore. I'm sorry. I can't tell you that. I can tell you about some of them. But generally, like, if you're asking a question like, shouldn't it be like this? Probably. The answer's probably yes. Probably you're right. Like, I was doing stuff. Yeah, people make rules mistakes constantly when they're playing as one player. And people, like, I've played games that Rich and I've played a million times that, like, when you go back to it, we've played it, and then afterwards just been like, oh, that was completely wrong. Like, where have we got that from? I think we did it in something recently that we went back to. That, like, I don't know, actually. That, like, we've played this a million times, and then we sat down and played it and just made up a rule from nowhere that doesn't exist in anything. I can't understand the anger, really, as well. And the best thing for me has been realizing that I can, like, is filter the right word? All of the comments generally go into like they have to be approved first, because like sometimes you would get like, the worst thing for me was like when people would like argue at another person. Like, I don't want it at me either. People being angry at me, but people being angry at other people or starting like flame wars against each other in the comments. Sometimes I have to be like, oh, check my comments, and oh, that's horrible, and it's been there for ages. I'll delete it now, but oh, that's unfortunate. That person will have got a notification about that, and people might have seen it on the channel. I realised, like, it's for quite a while now, I don't know how long, that you can just set it so every comment needs to be approved, which, like, sometimes that's unfortunate because people, like, will have to wait until I see it to say, yes, that's fine, which 99% of the comments, fine, and get through. But you won't see any of those particularly angry ones because I see them, I think, that's a bit strong, and they're gone before they ever get into the public eye. And that's even better when they're like directed at other people, because that means, like, if they're replying to a person, I think I'm right in saying they never even get a notification that, like, something nasty, or not necessarily nasty, like, probably more like aggressive, it's been said about their opinion of something. No, it's BeaCon. It was the first one, so I don't know if there is like a website to it yet. It's hard, isn't it? Because you're searching the word beacon as well. It's hard. It's a hard thing to find. There probably is a BeaCon as well. Thanks, Monica. I think many people would argue that I can barely run a game while running a stream. I try my best. There's just there's just so many, even just playing a board game you are familiar with, it is so easy to just make a mistake and get distracted by something that, like, not talking about like videos or anything, like something happens, the phone rings, the doorbell rings, something interrupts you for a second and you were in the middle of doing a load of things for a turn. Did I take that money? Have I done that action yet? Are you going to... Do people reset the game at that point and start again? Or do they just carry on making the best of the situation? Just carry on, wouldn't you? Like, it doesn't matter too much. That's kind of the thing as well, that, like, I think particularly for kind of the indignant or the angry comments about things, like, there's no pride, like, especially like if it's like a solo game and I won it and actually something was wrong and you shouldn't have got these points and that means you lost. Okay, I'm sorry about that, but there was no prize. This isn't a competition, and, like, I probably felt good about winning, but, like, I'm not trying to gloat with the win in a video or something like that. Like, you win, you lose. You're playing the game, right? Just trying to have fun, aren't we, really? Is it BeaCon? Yeah, some folks just need to chill. That is true. Just, like, it's an easy rule to follow, isn't it? When typing anything on the internet, just have a read of it and think again for a start, because especially for a negative thing, this probably doesn't need to be said, but generally, and just for, like, replying to people, like, for, like, angry things or arguments, there's a good lesson learned years and years ago that actually, like, as you start to type that thing, you think, oh, actually, it would be easier to just forget that this ever happened and not continue it. No good can come from continuing this. And what's the Limmy thing? Bamo. Block and move on. Not just everybody. I don't want to block people. Yeah, I think generally people aren't getting games right the first time. Probably still aren't getting games right loads of times later. Like, I'm trying to be right. I'm constantly thinking about things. I'm constantly looking things up. It's why these things take so long to film and edit and stuff. I'm constantly looking up bits and somehow still getting things wrong that, like, I've been told there's something in Luthier. There's a note in Luthier that, like, after I saw the note, I said to Rachel, like, didn't this come up when we were playing? And, like, we looked it up and I'm right about this. And she said, no, we looked it up when we were playing because you thought that. And it wasn't in the rules, and we checked it in the rules, and it specifically says the opposite of what you thought. So that conversation happened that I don't remember, and when it came to the playthrough, I thought my wrong thing again. just happens. I don't know why. Yeah, you'll always find a rule that you got wrong. And like, I think at the, like, there will kind of inevitably, from teaching games as well, it's like, it's good because you get to play games, but in some ways, it's horrible teaching games, isn't it? Like, in person, be like, you'll always forget a thing. Like, if I forget a fundamental thing to say in a playthrough, apart from live ones, at least I can kind of put in me saying that. I can't go back in real life and have said that thing early on. It's better that we know halfway through, right, that this rule existed. It would have been nice to know it at the beginning, but at least we're finding out now. I can't know all of the rules off by heart. We could just pause the game and wait for an answer. That was a great thing, actually. I think I shouted them out in the playthrough. The community for Europa Universalis, because it was so complicated and I was learning it quickly so that this video can be ready while their expansion campaign is going. It's great that they've got like a Discord community for AJ Games, but a very active, very dedicated Discord that I think 3 or 4 times in the playthrough, it's kind of like, this situation's come up that hasn't before and I'm not quite sure in the rules, and have much more knowledgeable people say, oh, here it is in the rules, here's how it works from that. That was amazing. If you could have that from every game, it would take a bit longer to film, but things will be right. But you can't, like, I think it would take forever. Even if those Discords were available for every game, being able to just say, like, pause for a minute, this thing's happened, what do I do? And within like 5 or 10 minutes getting a absolutely correct answer as to how that situation goes. Oh, it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. It was terrifying and daunting and fun and exciting at the same time. But that was a benefit as well. Steve, you've been playing Can't Stop for long. What have you been doing in Can't Stop? I play Can't Stop a lot worse on Board Game Arena. I find that I find it a lot harder to stop on Board Game Arena. To the point where, like, I don't find that as much in real life, that because I think it's dice in an online thing seem fundamentally unfair. Like even though it's just like your perception of the thing. Like if you're rolling dice, you're just you've got to just accept that that's just a thing, right? But when a computer's automatically rolling the dice for you, no, this computer's got something against me. There's no way I should have rolled these numbers. That's so unlikely, and I've rolled them so many times in this game. But there's like, I go to the point where, oh, at this point I need to just push my luck all the way. Yeah, push my luck way more online. If you can make 2 pairs, you have to use both pairs. I thought you just had to take 1 pair. Oh, that would make it a lot easier, wouldn't it? It's a lot. Can't Stop can be a lot nastier to it, especially like you're desperate for just one more move up one of the columns, and then your first 2 pairs give you 3 numbers that like completely discount that, and you've rolled a load of doubles, so you've got no choice of what to take. Gutting. But Can't Stop is still fundamentally amazing. I just recently started teaching games at events. I'm sure to make a mistake of, yeah, it's just inevitable. I'm sure like demos and stuff, like they've had the game to learn and are sometimes like getting paid to do it and stuff, and like you will just make mistakes. There's a lot of stuff to remember, and there's an art to like trying to keep people engaged and interested, and like you can't, and teaching like just enough to get started I think is a big thing. Like that, you can only see the Civolution playthrough if you're on, it was a Patreon only stream on Paul's Patreon. But like the way we did that, of him just kind of going through very basic things and then just, let's start playing and I'll tell you about it. Like, I'm fine with that. Like, I don't care in the first game that like, I don't really care who wins anyway, but I don't care if like we're going to make terrible decisions because we don't know what these actions are yet. And then at the end of the game, you go, oh, I would have done this differently. I'm fine with that because you're playing and actually doing things. Oh, the first time that kind of card comes up, this is how it works. The first time someone takes that action, this is how it works. Okay, get in touch with the actual designer. Yeah, that's good on Board Geek as well. Like, it's not as direct as like what was on about in Discord, but it's great when designers or publishers are active in Board Geek answering questions. Like that's gutting for a game to when you go to ask a question, or just Google if anyone else has had your question before, and they have, and it's like a 6-year-old thread that's got no answers, or it's got an answer from someone that's just kind of like, well, this would make sense, but there is no answer from the publisher about this. That's really sad when it ends up like that. But it's cool if they're active. Right, I should go then now. Thank you everyone for being here. I rabbited on for a lot longer than I thought I was gonna, but there's been such good stuff this month to cover. I think, yeah, there'll be a playthrough vote later. We will have to have, I don't know if I'm going to do one of these for like every month, but like I used to. When there's enough to say like this, we'll do one. I think we should probably have a Q&A next month, like early on. Like, I think we did one of them last year, right? You play one of them. Yeah, if you play a game for ages and then reread the rules and find you've been playing it wrong, it's like getting a free expansion. Yeah, we don't make mistakes. We make accidental house rules. And that's the best way to think about it, really. Sometimes, not often, and probably just justifying myself here, sometimes the way I've played it wrong, I've much preferred. Not that often, but it's happened. I've been like, oh, I would actually want to play it this way in future. Or I think it's maybe happened with a Kickstarter video where like, we're going to include that as a variant because we much prefer the way we're doing it, but that's a cool, strange way of interpreting it. But yes, thank you so much everyone for being here. Thanks for all of your support. Oh, I need to say as well, I did change. I want to name check people more, unless you don't want your name checked. I did say to do this at the start, but I didn't. And you can see their names a little bit in the corner as well. Snizks, I don't know how to pronounce that. Snizks, Jap, Ambercat, Wrestler, Esther. Thanks so much for joining recently. And yeah, your support on Patreon would be massively appreciated. I've tried to remember because there hasn't been a stream since I changed it. But I changed it to be like, yes, I'll thank you for joining up. And if you have joined up and haven't been thanked yet, just pop up in the chat and I'll thank you. Like, thank everybody that's already in here. I'm sure I have in the past. I hope I have. But yeah, thank you for keeping it all going. Thank you for joining me. I will be back. There's loads of other playthroughs. I think I've already said all this. I will see you live again next Friday for some Deep Regret solo. I think that will be in the evening time, so maybe be a bit easier to see in the States. Well, it'll be around now, actually. It'll be starting around now in a week. Thank you so much, everyone, and I will see you soon for more. Bye, 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 bye.